President Harry Truman Building at the U.S. State Department. It was named after President Truman in September 2000 to honor his services to America.
The whole world must be cleansed of the evil from which half the world has been freed.
The American people know him very well. He's made his mark on history. It was he who ordered atomic bombs to be dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki in 1945. The bombings took a heavy toll on the cities targeted. Around 200,000 people, mainly civilians, were killed. But it was the survivors that became the true legacy of Truman's decision. They did not die, but were left with radiation sickness and disability. The United States is the only nuclear power to use nuclear weapons throughout history by bombing Japan's Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Ironically, it was Japan that was forced to renounce its right to maintain any armed forces after World War II. August 6th, Hiroshima, Japan. People have gathered to remember what happened 67 years ago. It's now called A-Bomb Day, and the crowd prays for the realization of lasting world peace. The memory is still fresh for some.
原子力発電所の事故が重なる未曾有の大惨事が発生した。人類にとって忘れがたい日となりました。今も苦しい生活を強いられながらも、前向きに生きようとする被災者の皆さんの姿は、67年前のあの日を経験した広島の人々と重なります。
April 2010, the U.S. State Department.
This NPR determined that the United States will not...
Defense Secretary Robert Gates is holding a joint press conference with Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. They have a surprise.
We are enforcing our commitment to the NPT by stating clearly for the first time that the United States will not use or threaten to use nuclear weapons against non-nuclear weapon states that are party to the NPT and in compliance with their non-proliferation obligations.
If there is a message for Iran and North Korea here, it is that if you're going to play by the rules, if you're going to join the international community, then we will undertake certain obligations to you, and then that's covered in the NPR. But if you're not going to play by the rules, if you're going to be a proliferator, then all options are on the table in terms of how we deal with you.
The United States makes it clear that using nuclear weapons cannot be ruled out against those countries who do not abide by their rules of play.
I have said that when it comes to preventing Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon, I will take no options off the table, and I mean what I say. That includes all elements of American power. A political effort aimed at isolating Iran, a diplomatic effort to sustain our coalition and ensure that the Iranian program is monitored, an economic effort that imposes crippling sanctions, and yes, a military effort to be prepared for any contingency.
The story of Iran's nuclear program was first made public on August 14, 2002 by the Mujahideen Khalq organization.
خطاب به فرماندهان محورها، فرماندهان لشکرها و تیپ‌های رزمی، به پیش آتش، به پیش آتش.
The MEK is an Iranian opposition group with the main objective of overthrowing the Islamic Republic of Iran. It has taken responsibility for the assassination of more than 12,000 individuals in Iran in the 40 years it's been active. The group was on the EU and US terrorist list at the time. During a press conference, MEK claimed that Iran had a clandestine nuclear weapons program in the central city of Natanz. Analysts believe the MEK did not operate alone.
There's reason to believe that in the case of the Natanz information, that this information was actually a product of a third agency, an outside party, Israel, which developed this intelligence, and then Israel used the MKO as the vehicle to spread this information because of the MKO's past record of having intelligence information relevant to the Islamic Republic.
Israel is the only nuclear power in the Middle East. It's believed to have around 200 nuclear warheads. But Tel Aviv pursues a policy of ambiguity when it comes to its nuclear weapons program, and so far, Western nations and the International Atomic Watchdog have respected Israel's no-comment attitude. Israel refuses to clarify just what its nuclear capacity is, let alone sign the Non-Proliferation Treaty. The world has known about the existence of an Israeli nuclear weapons program since 1986, when Mordechai Vanunu, a technician in Israel's nuclear facility, revealed details about it to the British press. He was then arrested and ultimately convicted in a trial to 18 years in prison. But that was not all. On February 5, 2004, former Mossad director Shabtai Shavit said in a televised interview that the punishment was designed to be much tougher. The West did not follow up on the information Vanunu had revealed. The news outlets were busy making Vanunu's arrest headline news, and in no time, the whole affair was conveniently forgotten. However, for Iran, the story was totally different. When Iran was accused of seeking nuclear weapons via a nuclear program that began during the Shah's time, before the revolution, Western media took it and ran with it. That was a decade ago, but the accusations persist. Despite Iran being a signatory of the NPT, despite numerous IAEA inspections that have found no proof to support the allegations, and despite Iran's firm condemnation of nuclear weapons in general.
By signing the additional protocol, my country has taken a great and an important step towards revealing its attitude of transparency and a full commitment to international confidence building. This essential move shall certainly be recorded in the memory and history of the agency as the turning point in the enhancement and strengthening of the integrated safeguards regime.
On the pretext of pressuring Iran into halting its nuclear program indefinitely until Western powers are satisfied there is no bomb being built, sanctions have been imposed on Iran and the political pressures have been constant.
The draft resolution has been adopted as Resolution 1929 of 2010.
The Islamic Republic of Iran has been consistent in its systematic condemnation of the developing and use of nuclear arsenal. Iran says its nuclear program is a peaceful one and refuses to forego its right to nuclear energy.
بنده مکرر گفتم ما دنبال سلاح هسته‌ای نیستیم.
In September 2004, Iran's leader issued a fatwa that the production, stockpiling, and use of nuclear weapons were forbidden under Islam and that the Islamic Republic would never develop a nuclear arsenal. Since then, in different ceremonies and meetings, Ayatollah Khamenei has reiterated his views on nuclear weapons as a political and religious leader.
مسئولین عاقلی به دنبال تسلیحات هسته‌ای نمی‌رن و ملت ایران هم از لحاظ مبنای اسلامی و فکری با این تسلیحات مخالف است، هم از لحاظ تدبیر و عقلانیت مخالفه.
The West, however, is turning a blind eye to all this.
We remain deeply concerned about Iran's nuclear program. A nuclear-armed Iran would result in still greater instability in the Middle East and increases the risk of a nuclear arms race. Iran must negotiate seriously on the nuclear issue to give the international community confidence that it is not developing nuclear weapons.
A nuclear-armed Iran is not a challenge that can be contained. It risks triggering a nuclear arms race in the region and the unraveling of the Non-Proliferation Treaty. That's why a coalition of countries is holding the Iranian government accountable. And that's why the United States will do what we must to prevent Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon.
The attacks on Hiroshima and Nagasaki were just two instances where the West has used weapons of mass destruction. But WMDs come in various forms. The term also refers to large-scale weaponry and technologies such as chemical, biological, and radiological weapons. March 16, 1988. Halabja city on the Iran-Iraq border. Saddam has given a direct order. Halabja is to be attacked with poison gas.
$5,000 people were killed in one day, 10,000 were injured, mostly elderly people, women and children, because they couldn't flee the city.
The incident still remains history's largest chemical weapons attack directed against a civilian-populated area. The same tragedy happened in Sardasht in Iran. Declassified report in 1991, the CIA estimated that Iran had suffered more than 50,000 casualties from Iraq's use of several chemical weapons, but today the actual number of victims is estimated at more than 100,000, since the long-term effects still cause casualties to this day. Sayyid Mahmoud Razavi is a war veteran who still suffers from the injuries.
داوالا میزنن بعد داوالا باعث اذیت میشه تنگی نفس میده خفگی این حالت میشه بعد یه قدرت اونچنان ندارم که مثلا فشار درد و تحمل.
مشکلش اینه که ثابت نیست 3 روز معامله یه دفعه میره دوباره تو بحران
تا اینطوری میشه یه تاقن میتره بیان تو کما سر یادم تو سیسیو حتی میشه من این تاقن شیمیه با مثلا گریه چی داره میشه دکترها میدونستن باشه درد مورفین جواب نمیدون
The West has produced and used weapons of mass destruction to wage its wars. Any nation that defies Western policies is in danger of being attacked. And the US, for one, says a nuclear attack on Iran is never off the table.
We will not allow Iran to develop a nuclear weapon, period. We will not allow them to develop a nuclear weapon. And we will exert all options in the effort to ensure that that does not happen.
We're determined to prevent Iran from developing nuclear weapons. We leave all options on the table, and containment is definitely not an option.
Iran has, in the most forthright political and religious terms, assured the international community that it's not seeking nuclear weapons, but the West continues to accuse the Islamic Republic of ignoring its international obligations. Iran's stance has remained unchanged despite Western accusations and the various pressure tactics adopted by the powers that be.
ما دنبال سلاح هسته‌ای نیستیم و اقتدار را در سلاح هسته‌ای نمی‌دانیم و اقتدار متکی به سلاح هسته‌ای را می‌توانیم بشکنیم.
Qom, 100 miles south of Tehran, one of the largest centers for Islamic scholarship. There are an estimated 50,000 seminarians in the city coming from 70 countries. Most of the seminaries teach their students modern social sciences and Western thought as well as traditional religious studies. The students can obtain the highest degree in Islamic education. In the highest level, an Islamic scholar can issue fatwas or a juristic ruling concerning Islamic law.
فقیه اون چرا حقیقتاً از منابع دینی تشخیص می‌دهد به مردم بازگو کند. اگر سرسوزنی برخلاف اون چه منابع دینی در تشخیص و نگاه او بیان دارند بگوید، از عدالت ساقط هست و از شایستگی برای رهبری دینی ساقط خواهد شد. رهبری فقیه عادل یعنی فقیهی که یک سر سوزن از اون چه خدا و رسول میگویند پا رو فراتر نمیگذارد و در ابدای نظر شخصی خودش رو به عنوان یک فرد مطرح نمیکنه، بلکه نظر دین رو مطرح میکند.
May 24, 2012. Iran and the P5+1 countries are in Baghdad to hold another round of nuclear talks. Saeed Jalili, Iran's top nuclear negotiator, is heading the Iranian delegation.
فتوای اخیر مقام معظم رهبری درباره سلاح‌های حرمت سلاح‌های کشتار جمعی یک ظرفیت بزرگ رو برای خلع سلاح فراهم می‌کنه. این یک ظرفیت بزرگ هست که فقط محدود به جمهوری اسلامی ایران نمی‌شود. یک نظریه دینی است که می‌تواند به عنوان یک فرصت در مباحث خلع سلاح مورد استفاده قرار گیرد.
Iran's Atomic Energy Organization, the focus of Western propaganda against the Islamic Republic. Scientists working here may vary in their specialties, but all of them have one thing in common.
علمای ما هم که بالاتفاق اجماعاً این فتوا رو صادر کردن در گذشته که بحث حرام بودن سلاح‌های کشتار جمعی که هسته‌ای یکی از اوناست، اینا رو مطرح کردن و اساس انسانیت در جهان امروز حکم میکنه که دیگه کسی با کسی مبارزه تفنگی هم نداشته باشه.
In the Iranian society, religion has always played an important role. Iran witnessed a revolution in 1979, after which the constitution was rewritten based on the Islamic Sharia. And in the constitutional referendum held in December 1979, the new Islamic constitution was approved by 99.5% of voters. And new laws and regulations today are also passed based on the Islamic laws.
یه مجموعه دستورات پیغمبر اکرم به ما داده، در همه کتاب‌های تاریخ در حالات پیغمبر نوشته‌اند که با صراحت نشان می‌دهد سلاح‌های کشتار جمعی ممنوعه. حتی اجازه نمیده حیوانات، حتی اجازه نمیده درختان. خب سلاح کشتار جمعی نه بر سرباز رحم میکنن، نه بر غیر سرباز، افراد غیر نظامی، نه بر کودکان، نه بر پیران، نه بر درخت، نه بر حیوان، بر هیچ چیز رحم نمیکنه. اسلام به هیچ وجه اجازه نمیده.
It's not only Islam that bans the production and stockpiling of nuclear weapons. All divine religions forbid weapons of mass destruction even though they are intended for self-defense. The Bishop of Santa Maria Church in Tehran says all religions are unanimous in this point.
God has created man not to distract each other, not to kill each other, but to live with each other, understand each other, and respect each other. And through that, they will become co-workers with God. Therefore, production of weapons of mass destruction and their usage, it means this is against God's will. And not only Islam, but also Christianity, and I believe all religions, they're against it.
Israel, which does not abide by the Non-Proliferation Treaty, has always justified the secrecy of its nuclear program as a preventative measure against its enemies. Israeli officials have persistently stated that signing the treaty would be contrary to their national security interests.
Israel must always have the ability to defend itself by itself against any threats.
Israel claims that it is founded on Judaism, but many Jewish scholars say nuclear bombs are against the faith.
که مواظب نفس انسان باشید، مواظب جان خودتون باشید، بلکه سپرده است از جانب خدا به دست شما و باید این رو محترم نگه دارید. نبایستی خدای نکرده کوچکترین وسیله‌ای که نابود کننده است، وسیله‌ای که کشنده است، وسیله‌ای که فنا انسان می‌رسونه، اینا نباید ما حتی فکر ساختنش هم نباید باشیم.
به صورت کلی در واقع حرمت استفاده از سلاح‌هایی که میتونه افراد غیر نظامی رو مورد تهاجم قرار بده توی متون متفاوت یهودی، مثل در واقع قوانین پادشاهان، مثل کتاب یشعیا و مثل سفر دواریم اومده و مؤکداً تاکید شده که استفاده از سلاح‌هایی که میتونه افراد غیر نظامی رو مورد حمله قرار بده کاملاً آسوره و به این ترتیب بر اساس تفکر یهودی استفاده از هر گونه سلاح کشتار جمعی ممنوعه، به عنوان استفاده از سلاح‌های میکروبیولوژی، سلاح‌های شیمیایی و سلاح‌های هسته‌ای بر اساس شریعت یهودی حرام یا در کلام عبری آسور به حساب میاد و به هیچ وجه استفاده از اونها مجاز شمرده نمیشه.
ادیان الهی نسبت به مسائل انسانی حساسند.
Religious scholars believe catastrophes like the Hiroshima and Nagasaki attacks and what occurred in Halabja and Sardasht spring from a lack of respect for divine or human laws. Iran's leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, has frequently said that the production of nuclear weapons is prohibited. On the 30th of August 2012, in his speech for the leaders of 120 countries, Ayatollah Khamenei said again that his country will never divert from its peaceful path.
من تأکید می‌کنم که جمهوری اسلامی هرگز در پی تسلیحات هسته‌ای نیست و نیز هرگز از حق ملت خود در استفاده صلح‌آمیز از انرژی هسته‌ای چشم‌پوشی نخواهد کرد. شعار ما انرژی هسته‌ای برای همه و سلاح هسته‌ای برای هیچ کس است. ما بر این هر دو سخن پای خواهیم فشرد.
The Iranian nation supports its government where nuclear energy production is concerned, and there is no proof that anything untoward is happening in Iran's nuclear facilities.
I think the Iranian government deserves.
Nevertheless, Western countries that have appointed themselves the representatives of the international community say they are not convinced and will go on trying to impede Iran's nuclear progress. But for Iranians, most of which believe Iran is entitled to nuclear energy, it's the hypocrisy that gets them in the gut. The fact that their country is deemed untrustworthy by the only government to ever have used nuclear weapons and those who sold Saddam the chemical weapons he used in his war on Iran.